Hello, I'm Eugeniy Lobanov, and I'm working in CCB as hazardous substances working area leader. So we are doing projects and activities focused on waste, on hazardous substances, which is really one of key threats for Baltic Sea environment. And actually, I was thinking that it was almost 20 years ago when I also took part in our Common Baltic, like many years ago. And I should say it was really one of like life-changing experience for myself. It was organized in a little bit different way from today. We were sailing on a small ship Amalia in Stockholm archipelago for a couple of days, meeting with like farmers, scientists, people living just by the sea. But we also got some meetings and some lectures with various environmentalists, angel workers, scientists, and etc. And that was really kind of, I think, very important turning point for myself to really work as an environmental activist or environmentalist in coming years. I'm a biologist myself. Actually, my specialization is botany, but I've never been working as a botanist. I always was working in a kind of broader environmental protection area, doing some part of activities with bird life, for example. And then I've been working mainly on the area of toxic substances, waste management, and environmental education as well. Yeah, so it's kind of brief of myself and about animal. I don't really know. I always hate this question. So I just have a couple of horses just in front of my window. So let it be a horse.
So, Eugeniy, the floor is yours to start telling us about one of the topics that we will be working on during the camp that is dedicated to the climate change, that we'll be talking about the erosion and the dunes. But as well as we are on the seashore, we cannot omit the topic of plastic and plastic pollution. And that's why Eugeniy will tell us about it and also tell us quite some creative thoughts. What can be done? Not only the how it's terrible, but what can be done in reality.
Yeah, thank you very much, Catherine, again for inviting. Unfortunately, like most probably, I won't be able to join you in Latvia due to some other commitments. But I'm really happy that you're having this topic of plastic on the agenda because, again, as I said, it's really one of the perhaps most urgent topics and challenges, not only for the Baltic Sea but globally. And actually, one of the reasons why I most probably won't be able to come to OCB is because the dates of OCB are almost identical with the dates of session of negotiation committee to create a global plastic treaty. It's an important process to actually. It's a first attempt to create something really universal, some global legislation convention, hopefully. To try to really tackle this problem. I will try to share my screen. If we're going to go into very much details about the plastic crisis, but my idea is rather to give you a kind of overview of why we're really talking about plastic, not about like waste pollution, for example, or some other materials, but specifically about plastic. And yeah, why it's important for our region, for the Baltic Sea region, and also what can be done. Not really to solve the problem, because I guess it's one of fundamental issues with environment, with economy. It's really very hard to find a magic solution, and I guess all of you coming with some environmental background, studying environment, you already clearly understand that we don't have magic solutions. We don't have simple, very simple solutions when we're talking about basically anything related to an environmental issue. It's always we have to find a very complicated path towards some level of sustainability. I would say, just kind of again short reminding, that we have this concept of triple planetary crisis. It's current more of a modern concept of or idea promoted by UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program, which basically summarizes the current situation with Earth's environment. And triple crisis stands for crisis in the area of biodiversity. We have a again, as I guess you know quite well, that we are facing really halting or very urgent decrease of various species in different countries, and basically we're talking about loss of biodiversity. The second angle of this crisis is climate change, which again mainly attributed to our mankind activities and emitting of greenhouse gases, and at the same time it also impacts and provides more speed or more energy for issues related to biodiversity, to nature conservation, and to other aspects of sustainable living on the earth. So this is considered to be a second angle of the crisis. And the third angle is pollution. And when we're talking about pollution, we are meaning a wide range of different aspects, sources, polluters, chemicals, waste, plastic as well. And for me, this picture, which is taken on one of Eastern European swamps, really illustrates this idea of triple planetary crisis, when we have a emission of carbon dioxide, when we have some pollution releases into the atmosphere, and we also have an issue with biodiversity. So this is a kind of a global framework. And when we're talking about plastic is really linked to all these three angles, especially when it comes to pollution. But of course, also very significantly, plastic crisis linked to climate change, and in its effect, it also has a contribution to biodiversity loss. Again, you will be able to have this presentation, so don't really need maybe to have some records. But for me, this is a very important graph because it shows the dynamic of waste generation, of municipal or household waste generation in different regions of the world per year. And what is important, it also has a prediction for the next 25 years. It's data from the World Bank, which is based on national statistics provided by countries. So of course it's in a way a little bit generalized data, and it's also there are some assumptions made during the calculations. But generally, it gives us a very clear picture that we are kind of in the middle of waste growing, and especially we are expected to have a significant increase of waste generation in certain regions of the world, especially in South Asia, Southeast Asia, and in Sub-Saharan Africa. And to some extent, this data is also very well linked or correlated to some other economic data related, for example, to production facilities development, and we also see that a lot of production is moving or is being open in Southeast Asia and also in Africa, and especially in the upcoming period. So perhaps we will not see so much so huge increase of waste generation in Europe. Again, due to a little bit different structure of the economy. But generally, we could expect that the waste problem will become more and more important. So we don't really on a good track, talking from the waste perspective. And of course, you may well clearly understand that the problem of waste also has a significant impact on various environments in various areas, and because we are talking from the Baltic Sea angle, the waste generation contributes significantly to the problem of marine litter, which is identified as one of priority topics by HELCOM, Helsinki Commission for the Baltic Sea. I hope you will have a real chance to work or to address this issue during the OCB, during cleanup. Hopefully, of course, you will not see such terrible picture which is coming from the Pacific Ocean, well, part of the Pacific Ocean close to the Vietnam border, but still in the Baltic Sea we have an issue with marine litter, and to a large extent it's linked, or it's coming from the problem with waste management and waste generation, because a lot of this waste is at the end is being dumped or being somehow bring to the sea and to the global ocean, and then it basically it becomes a marine litter. Again, coming back to plastic, even if we are looking on the issue of marine litter, the absolute majority of this marine litter is plastic waste, and especially plastic packaging waste. I really love this chart, this graphic, because it's based on one of like very good reports produced by Geneva Environmental Network, which is one of leading kind of think tanks and environmental organizations in Europe. And there was a very important study about global plastic production, and we see how basically it's exponential growth of the plastic, which we are basically in the middle of this growth. And what is important to understand that the situation with plastic will become more and more visible and acute in the coming 10 to 20 years. So we're not really on a good track in terms of addressing or capping plastic production, but it's just growing. But it's and basically this is an interpretation of the previous graph done by our colleagues in IPAN. IPAN is another international entity. It stands for International Pollutants Elimination Network, and it's one of the leading networks entities advocating for chemicals-free approaches, basically working with chemicals. And what is important from what you could see from this graph is basically two things. The first one is that we may expect tripling of plastic production in the next 20 years in comparison with the previous 70 years. So the whole amount of plastic which has been produced since 1950 basically will be tripled in the next 20-25 years, according to estimation of global plastic production, and also in terms of expectations of chemicals industry sales, which is a very much linked figure, because as you perhaps know, plastic is basically made out of carbon plus chemicals, and most of problems or challenges associated with, for example, health effects of plastics, they are linked to specific chemicals, which might be hazardous chemicals, chemicals of high concern, which are used in plastic to basically to give plastic its properties, its forms. So it could be various types of paints, plasticizers, or some other types of additives which make the plastic to serve its purpose, but at the same time they provide various hazardous or toxic characters of plastic products. And what is also important, like to understand when we're talking about, when we're thinking about regulation or addressing the plastic problem, is that most of chemicals which are currently used in plastics, they are out of control. So they are not really regulated by legislation. Sometimes we even don't have exact data about the content of the plastic. So we just know, like, in general. And it's not only a problem of consumers like us who are buying certain products, but it's also a problem, for example, for downstream recyclers. So those companies or organizations or even individuals who are trying to recycle plastic products because they don't really know what is in various products. Yeah, so it's really a huge issue, like an iceberg, and it's a nice graph from the European Environmental Agency, basically illustrating that most of chemicals, again, to illustrate the same point, that most of chemicals which are currently used in plastic products, we don't know a lot about them. We have quite poor characterization for the hazards, for the possible interlinkages between themselves, so how they would react in mixtures, what would be with them once they released into environment. And in fact, we're having quite limited list of chemicals which are currently strictly regulated. And I should say that this is one of the major points for debates during, for example, discussion about establishing a new plastics treaty, whether we would be able really to regulate chemicals in plastic. You may imagine that many countries and many industries, of course, they're very strongly against any regulation of chemicals, because it will mean almost a complete change of current business models for many players on the market. So it's really an important thing to remember, that plastic, it's not just carbon, just polymers, but it's polymers with chemicals, and these chemicals play a really vital role in both plastic characteristics, but they are mainly responsible for various health-related problems or challenges which are associated with plastic. When we're talking about plastic, it's we should understand that it's not the only environmental issue, but it's also an issue for social justice. And it's a nice illustration from our other colleagues, Rethink Plastic Alliance, which is a European also umbrella entity for various NGOs working on plastic. and break free from plastic, which is a global movement, and CCB is a part of B50 movement for quite many years. Because it turned out that actually, again, most of plastic which we even collecting separately here in Europe, and we like kind of recycling it. It ends up in various East Asia countries. Previously, it was mainly China, but then China banned import of plastic from other countries to a large extent, and now it ends up in many other countries, where they are basically not really recycled, but rather kind of this plastic waste undergo some primitive separation. Some people taking out some of the most valuable parts from this plastic, but then it's just ends up in landfilling, again in marine litter, and of course it has like tremendous effects on health of people who are doing this simple recycling, and on local environment. So for many NGOs and many politicians, many people who are concerned about plastic, it's really an issue of social justice. It's not a good way when we are just collecting our waste and send it out to people in less developed countries, with an idea that it's kind of out of our control. So just it's not our problem. It's another kind of point thesis that most of plastic which is currently produced, the biggest share of like global plastic production is plastic production for packaging, for basically for all these types of bottles, plastic bags, wrappers, and whatever we have. And most of, again, this packaging waste is packaging for single use. So basically it's just one-time use, and then it goes to landfilling or incineration. Of course, there is another important areas or sectors where plastic is produced. It's not only used, it's not only packaging, it's also, for example, a building construction sector, with a lot of materials are also being produced from plastic. Various consumer goods, it's also quite a growing market. And of course, textiles. Like for me, it's really kind of surprising that for many people they usually don't know that their clothes are typically made also from plastic, from either recycled plastic or virgin plastic materials, because well, currently a lot of like various types of clothes like polyester and etc. They of course made from plastic. We cannot say that it's single-use plastic in a way, because we pretend to wear clothes for some certain period of time, but then again, it's basically impossible to like properly recycle, because of very complicated and very mixed content of these textiles. So it's just another angle of plastic problem. And this is the most worrying for me, like information or aspect of plastic life cycle, which is that basically very tiny part. This is, I should say that it's a little bit outdated data, because it was a huge, huge research done almost 10 years ago. By World Economic Forum about various aspects of plastic management, and even now, like many publications, many researchers, they are referencing that the study, because it was really truly like a global study. But I don't think that the situation has changed significantly since that period, and we could like quite openly and frankly say that very tiny part of plastic waste is really being recycled currently, and especially like effectively recycled. So 10 years ago, they estimated that only like 2% of collected plastic was effectively recycled, and a lot of part of this small 14% share was downcycled into lower value applications or lost in the process. But what is more like worrying that most of our current plastic is being either landfilled or incinerated, or just lost in the environment, contributing to marine litter and contributing to pollution of terrestrial ecosystems, which is in its turn leading to biodiversity protection. So you could understand that it's really an issue, really an environmental problem, and it's being very deeply integrated into various aspects of our current economy. So we cannot just say, okay, let's stop plastic or let's ban like plastic products. It's impossible already. We are as a human society, we cannot really like avoid plastic products currently. But perhaps we could try to make them more safe, more sustainable, like more multi-use. We could handle them in a better way. So there are a lot of options which we as a society could do about this issue. But the issue is really important. So yeah, I already mentioned about this China waste import ban, which took effect a couple of years ago, and it was also one of major, I would say, steps or responses from Southeast Asia towards very like environmentally poor practice of importing waste from Western Europe, from United States to China. Like I mentioned already, health effects, especially for waste recyclers, for people in the informal sector. But of course, it's not only about them; it's also about like all of us who are consuming various types of plastic products. So using plastic packaging, we are affected by, for example, microplastic particles, which are currently almost everywhere. And I also like find this topic as very like fascinating and very interesting, especially when we're doing our awareness raising campaigns. People always tend to like to get extra attention to the topic of microplastic because like everyone understands that with every like single cup of coffee, a single cup of tea, or like fish dish or some other products, we basically we ingest some of microplastic particles, again with quite unknown content in terms of chemicals inside, in terms of chemicals on the surface of this microplastic. So it's a kind of huge health issue, which is currently, I would say, one of the most, again, well, not interesting, but a lot of scientific investigations, scientific research are being done on the topic of microplastic pollution and microplastic effects on health. This is a photo which I've done in one of Eastern European countries, which for me illustrates very well the like widespread of single-use plastic products currently on the market, and it would be also a very typical picture for many Southeast Asia countries when you would have a lot of sachet with different types of products, and you cannot do anything with this sachet after you have used them. So basically, it's just designed for landfill, designed for incineration, and it's I guess you would find such a picture in many parts of the world. So the single-use plastics are being really promoted, unfortunately. I don't think I will really concentrate on many questions which are currently being opened on international forums related to plastic, but I would just mention some of them. For example, the plastic, it's really about like huge money. It's about huge economy interventions, because it's not only like environmental issue, but it's one of the biggest industries in the world. It's a petrochemical industry, and now with switching from usage of petrochemicals in the energy sector, like a vast part of all this petrochemicals, oil, gas, and etc., they're being used for plastic production. So you could imagine like what type of money are on the table, and it's really very difficult to do something around plastic regulation, because it's about big money. I have some other types of problems when we're trying to address the issue of plastic. For example, I put the label of confidential to illustrate the issue of confidential business information, which is another, I would say, problematic concept in many parts of the world, when industry claims that this or that information is confidential because it contains some of like business secrets. So we cannot really share or make the content of our product like freely available for consumers, because it like contains some confidential information, and it's really a problem for in many cases when, for example, environmental NGOs or even some environmental ministries or authorities trying to to get rid some of the hazardous chemicals, and it's very difficult to establish a proper cooperation with producers, and it's especially difficult for us as consumers to receive some types of information. It's being addressed on various levels, but it still remain a problem. I will not really go into very much details, but just to assure you that international negotiations when it comes to plastics are going very slowly, very difficult, very challenging because of various reasons. In a way, it's similar to the situation in climate negotiations, where we're having now almost like 30 years of negotiations with, I would say, quite modest results and outcomes. And with plastic, it's in a way quite similar. So now we are trying to come to possible solutions, or maybe not solutions, but at least steps which we, as NGOs or as people, as like just citizens, can do. And one possible theory of change for our activities is like linking local actions, local activities, local science, local investigation into global policy processes, trying to influence these policy processes. So, for example, we're collecting evidence of problems from the ground. This is one of the roles of CCB and its member organizations, to work with people on the ground to see what's going on, what are the problems, and then bring these problems into various global forums, global levels, HELCOM, plastic treaty negotiations, Stockholm Convention. Just last week, our colleagues from CCB took part in Ocean Conference in France, also trying to advocate for well, some of issues not really related to plastic, but for example, to underwater noise or biodiversity issues, because we know the situation in the Baltic on the ground. And then once some changes are made on the global level, we're trying to bring these changes into, again, back into local and in national context, and trying to, well, to promote this positive changes. So this is a way how many international organizations, international environmental networks are working. So based on and bringing data, bringing knowledge from the ground, advocating based on this knowledge on the international level, and then supporting local changes. So that was a kind of, I would say, brief, very brief surface level overview of what's going on with plastic, why it's an important environmental, health, and social issue. If you are interested, and if we would have a chance within the OCB process to explore this topic more, I would be like really happy to work with you, with Catherine, to try to provide more information on, try to focus some of your activities towards plastic, addressing plastic topic. But we also wanted to use opportunity of today's meeting to present some of our like opportunities which we could provide you as OCB participants within CCB to be engaged with plastic issue, to do something. And we have here we have basically two types of engagement opportunities for you or for your organizations. And the first one is about planning and organizing local action days or local events in cooperation with like your friends, your partners, your host organizations. Because CCB is a member of a big Baltic Sea Interact project called Baltic Plast, which is also about plastic pollution, plastic issue, and we are able to support arranging of such local events in various countries. And we just thought with Catherine that it might be interesting for OCB participants to think about what kind of, maybe what could be relevant in your communities or in your countries. So we have, yes, kind of a concept for thinking about local action days, focused on various target audiences, and basically what we propose to people and to organizations to do. For example, to host a plastic-free day in school or in university, or to participate in some local open-air festivals, and to bring the awareness-raising component about plastic. So it could be various types of like elements, for example, like discussions, some educational games, or some like panel or discussions or lectures by some experts. So basically anything which would raise awareness of public or of the choose target audience about the plastic pollution problem. And we thought that it might be also a good maybe tool for you, especially for those of you coming from the same countries, and CCB would be able to provide also some like information support, some financial support for arranging of such activities, and that could be also a nice exercise for the joint work. Yeah, so this is the first way of how you could engage, and how CCB could support like plastic-related activities within OCB. Again, if you would be willing to plan and organize local events on plastic, we would be happy to to consider supporting these events. And the second way how perhaps OCB participants could be engaged into CCB work on plastic is joining our social media campaigns. We have one specific campaign focused on single-use plastic, which is already running for more than a year. And the idea of a campaign that we are regularly producing pre-designed visuals for posts and stories and reels for major social media like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. So they are they're focused on different topics. So participants of the campaign, they got already like pre-designed visuals with draft texts for like post stories. And then they could either adopt it or translate into the national languages, because we produce them in English, and then use in social media. So it could be used on an organizational level using the your organization accounts, or it could be used on like private levels if you have your own like audience in social media. You could also educate them about the specific topic of plastics. And all these materials are available for use, so they are free to use. So you could also consider, and maybe it could be one of element in OCB, because I know that you would have a component on working in social media. So if plastic topic would be of interest for some of you, we could also discuss about your joining the campaign. So you could either use templates which are already available, or you could start using like new templates which we are producing every month, some new materials. But we also have some opportunities to support like own local like initiatives when some partners in national countries, they would like to have some their own materials, or their own, for example, collaboration with some local influencers about plastics. So we could also provide even funding to support such efforts. So this, I would say, another second opportunity, participation or development materials for social media campaign on plastic. Yeah, and this is an example of some of recent reels which we produce on the topic of plastic. So I think that was it, what I wanted to share with you today. But definitely I remain here to be to continue discussion, to answer questions, and in case there will be some interest for participation, I will be very interested to support your engagement into this campaigns. Catherine?
Thank you very much, Evgeny.